Tell us how you started into this field.
I had a lucky childhood. I grew up in New Jersey, which no one associates with the wilds. But my parents they kept moving us out, farther out and out. My dad worked in Philadelphia. And they would move us to the edge of the suburbs so that we could have some green space behind us. And for a little kid, it doesn't take much. So we had a ravine that went down behind our house. And basically now I realize that was just too steep to subdivide on. But that was wild to me. And then farther on beyond that, there was a field that was an old field in successional stage, becoming a forest. And I just spent every waking hour in the summer out there with field guides and magnifying glasses. And my parents bought me a microscope, and I was a nature nerd.
So nature really was your first teacher.
Absolutely.
Is education part of what we need to rethink as we talk about biomimicry?
Yeah, I think education's a big piece of it. First of all, even informal education, pre-education, just to the extent that we can not fill every waking hour of a kid's life with activities, but rather get them to a place where they can sit and feel grass and soil in their hands. And like I said, it doesn't take much. Right now, I live in the big wilds of Montana. People say, well, that's why you can be inspired. A tomato plant on the windowsill, if a kid has enough time to watch, a chrysalis found in a mailbox that develops into a butterfly, if a kid has enough time, that's an incredible education. And then I think in school, we very quickly, we get into the stream parts and then it braids again and it braids again, and we get into reductionist specialty sciences. And so for instance, you either go into industrial chemistry or you go into biochemistry, and those two things are very, very separate. And what we really need now is for the industrial chemists to know biochemistry. The people that I talked about in the book live in this sweet spot, this sort of fertile crescent between intellectual habitats of engineering and biology, because they've been educated separately, okay? Somehow and sometimes it just takes being co-located next to the biology department in an academic setting. And so they ride the same elevators or they sit on the same park bench having lunch. But somehow they meet a biologist or they have a biological interest, and they know enough about how life works, life's adaptations, and enough about how we've solved our problems to be able to play in that little fertile crescent. Now to deliberately try to get both of those disciplines to know about each other is really important to have. For instance, unless you're in environmental engineering, you can go through an entire engineering degree, 5-year degree, and never have a biology course. So you don't know the same things that you're trying to solve: filtration, adhesion, desalination, energy harvesting. You only study how humans have done that. That's your frame of reference. You never once learn about how life has already done that very same thing. Jet propulsion. You don't learn about the squid. And so the importance of having a single biology course taught in engineering would be enormous. In the same way, to teach biologists about human-made systems so that they begin to say, what I know about how life lives might be important to this other discipline. Another thing that kids don't get in K through 12 is any sort of design curricula, and design meaning, how we thoughtfully, with intention, try to create products or processes or even policies in a way that fits with the system. And kids are very good designers, I've found. When I go and I do biomimicry workshops with kids, they're great designers.
Must be fantastic.
And they have no problem, coming up with a skateboard that you put you mimic slug slime and you put it on the bottom of the skateboard. I mean, they're naturals. at this. We tell them that nature and technology are separate with a million different messages starting early. Until it gets to the point where when the book first came out, I went to a bookstore. I went to like one of these big box stores, Barnes & Noble or something, and I couldn't find it. I couldn't find the book. I didn't know where it was shelved, see, because it's about it's about learning from nature, creating new technologies from nature. And so I couldn't figure it out, and I finally found it, and it was in the technology section. And it was on a shelf like with, the Idiot's Guide to Cobalt or something, right next to it. And so I went up to the bookseller, and I said, I tried to explain, it's organic ideas, technology, but, it shouldn't, I'm not sure where it should be, and he was listening to me patiently, kind of eyes glazed over, waiting for me to be finished. And he said, "Lady, you've got nature and you've got technology. You have to choose one."